ودي لي سلامي يا رايح للحرم وادعي لي وسلم لي
Assalamu
على
alaikum
هادي
everyone, and welcome to another podcast from the Muslim Interlude. We're on episode number 4. This was actually supposed to be episode number 1, but as you can see, Aziz here, he's University of Manchester ISoc president, as you'll find out in a minute. He's extremely busy and he has minimal time for him. I'm his boy as well, which is the worst thing. But we've got here in the end, about 5 episodes later, so you can blame him for the lateness on this. But we're
Every
basically...
time someone introduces me, it's a rinse. I don't know why.
I don't know why either, to be honest. I've listened to people introduce you as well, and I just felt like this is the way I have to go about things. I didn't realize there's a different way. Unfortunately, that's a sticky one. Basically today's episode is going to be a little bit different to what we've had in the past. It's going to be more about what ISoc is, the things we do, the harsh realities of an ISoc, what we get up to behind the scenes, and more just encouragement for you guys to get involved in, show you some opportunities that are available. From events to charities to external opportunities that don't usually come unless you're part of an ISoc. So yeah, we'll just get straight into things. So Aziz, you're the Manchester ISoc president, right?
Yes, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, first and foremost. Auntie Jazakallah khair for inviting me. I haven't been busy. You told me, Aziz, when you're available. I said I'm available on that day. We've got it sorted. Don't exaggerate. But no, honestly, Jazakallah khair for inviting me over. There's millions above me that you could have chosen to come on and speak better about this. But nevertheless, Jazakallah khair, appreciate it, man.
No, not at all, not at all. I thought when you're my boy, it's a little bit easier to talk to you as well. And I thought I've not known. Normally, what people do on podcasts is they know the guests, so they got a little bit more to talk to them about, and they can talk a little bit easier. Me, what I do is what I try not to do anyway on the podcast. I don't research much about the speaker, and I just go into it because I like learning. On the spot when you learn, it's different to when you research about someone, you're hearing it for the second time. Your reaction's a little bit different as well. So when I hear about it for the first time, or when I meet someone for the first time, you have a totally different conversation. So I thought this time, go on, let's get Aziz on. I'm sure he wants to be in the face of the camera once. So let's do it. So like we said, we were going to talk a little bit about ISoc and what we do and stuff like that. But first, I just wanted to talk about, obviously, uni life and how it is. So we know as students, I'm a student, final year, alhamdulillah, I think you're third year medic, fourth year?
Yeah.
Third year. Okay, so you've been at uni for 3 years now. You've seen the ups and downs. Usually, obviously, medicine's 5 years or whatnot, and normally a full degree is 3 years in itself. So you experience the full whole of university in the 3 years. So how is it like? How is university life as a young Muslim student? How does it go? Like, how has it been in the past 3 years?
Honestly, it's just a really unique time of your life, because never in your life are you gonna have that much free time. Never in your life are you gonna have access to so many people from different courses, different backgrounds. And never in your life are you gonna have that much, especially when you get involved in societies and, work with the university and stuff, you're gonna have sort of that sense of responsibility and freedom to do what you want. And also when it comes to your degree as well, you're actually, for the first time in your life, you're actually studying something that you want to do for life. And honestly, it makes a difference. Like, you go out through the whole schooling system and you're studying stuff you don't want to do. You're studying subjects you're never going to take. And for the first time in your life, like, it hits you, it's real that, this is what I'm actually going to be doing for the rest of my life. And that does change your attitude a little bit. Like, for me personally, I do try and put in that little bit of extra effort, because it's not like, oh yeah, I'll just sit the exam at the end of the year, my class, I'll forget about it after. No, it's more like, I actually need to do this because he's be good at my job. Do you know what I mean? So it's different in that sense. I think it's best told from someone who's left university, because they'll every single person who's left uni will be like, Aziz, Ismail, use that time well, because that time you're never going to get it back. And you know it. And we know these guys that have graduated and gone beyond, and they've got married and kids and jobs, and it's just on it. It's I don't know. I've really enjoyed it, alhamdulillah, past 3 years. And I'm happy that my course is 5 years. Like, I know some people just can't wait to get out of uni, and for me, I personally enjoy it. Like, I was even planning on taking an extra year to do like an intercalation or whatever, but that's out the window for now. Just because you got so much time to do stuff, and you've got very little responsibilities in terms of, like, everyone's got their family, everyone's got their little circles and things that they need to do on a daily basis. in terms of actual commitments, as in like trying to pay, you know, for a roof over your head or whatever, it's not there. Those responsibilities aren't there. So honestly, I've really enjoyed it. I think most people do enjoy it too, and I think anyone coming to uni, right? And I say this to a lot of the freshers coming in. Yes, I think a good 50% of it is for your actual degree. All right, your engineers, your medicines, your laws, whatever. But I think a good 50% of it also is your own development. Looking back at my 21 years, I have never changed so much in such a short space of time. Like if you ask people who were with me at college or with me at GCSE and people who are with me now, I'm a completely different person. Maybe for the worse, but it's just the transformation is massive, and it's nothing special. Just the experiences that you have, the people around you, just shape you in ways that you wouldn't realize. And like ISoc's played a massive part in that as well. Like honestly, I remember. Well, honestly, like group presentations in high school, I used to dread them. Imagine standing in front of a class and reading a piece of paper, or like I used to hate it. Honestly, I like take days off on stuff like because I didn't like it. And like alhamdulillah, through ISoc, through different things, you know, charity dinners, speeches, this and like it's just become second nature.
You
And
hosted
like,
charity dinner, didn't you? Was you just doing
yeah.
a speech? I can't remember last year.
So
Or was you just on there
no,
giving a
no.
speech? I
I
can't
was
even
too
remember.
I was too monotonous and boring to host charity dinner. So I got given like because I was vice president last year, so I had that bit of just promoting like the ISoc events. But
Oh yeah,
I
it's
did
the
bit.
bit that no one listens to.
Yeah, there's no one.
Yeah,
You're right before the food. You're right
yeah,
before the
yeah, yeah. The
food.
bit where everyone's queuing up for the food, just like let
Yeah,
someone listen to something.
let's just fill the space and time. But
Yeah.
even on that alone, like for me, that for me was massive. Like honestly, up until that stage, I was like, on it, walking up the stairs on the stage, I was like, how is this gonna go? This could absolutely go like it could really flop
When
here.
you're up there, it's different though, isn't it?
It's different. It's different. But I'm saying if I didn't have the preparation that I had in terms of my experiences at uni, it could have
Yeah.
gone pretty bad. But like even my boys came around, I was like, Aziz, what the flip? Like what happened? Like you look so confident up there. And honestly, alhamdulillah, it's just pure experiences that are built up. And that's what I'm saying. Like people also go in on your degree, focus on it, do the best that you can in that degree, but use every opportunity you can to better yourself, to develop yourself, because honestly those opportunities once you leave uni they become quite scarce and they become quite rare,
I
and
think
they're not
everyone's
as
glad to
available.
see. Everyone's glad to see that the future of their health is in hands of people who actually enjoy reading medicine and not just sit there saying that we hate it with 4 years in and we wish we never did it. Because that's what I'm at with my degree, to be honest. I'm final year now. Alhamdulillah. I'm saying alhamdulillah because I'm glad I'm final year. So at least
No,
someone.
I'm not going to pretend I'm one of those
Least,
guys that love with their degree, because on some people live and breathe medicine. Some people honestly you'll find them in every course. Some people just live and breathe their degree. No, I'm not like that. But you do enjoy aspects of it, as you do.
yeah,
Like
no, I
you
can
must
imagine
enjoy
so.
aspects of your
Yeah, of
degree as
course, I
well.
can imagine so. Especially reading medicine, it's an interesting topic of conversation. So like obviously you've said like the how you've enjoyed university, but what tests have you faced as such? Like we're young, like you said, okay, you spoke about the time and stuff that you've had at university. You spoke about the opportunities that you've had, but what tests have you faced at university? Maybe which you never thought you would have done, or stuff that was expected, but when you got to university, you realised it's even worse, or it's harder than you expected, or
Mm-mm. Honestly, I didn't really want to go into this, but honestly, the first few months, the difficult bit for me was forming that friendship group. So alhamdulillah, I was blessed that my best mate from like year one went in the same high school, same college, and got into the same degree. So I still had that one person.
shout out
But
to Abdurrahman.
shout out Rahman. No, but basically, like for us two, those first, and our course is massive. We've got 450 people on our course, and alhamdulillah, now that I know a lot of them, are top guys, mashallah. But those first few months, maybe 5, 6 months, they were really difficult, and for us trying to find people that we can click with that are along the same sort of wavelength. Do you know what I mean? And you go into that mentality. You're gonna go in. You're gonna like high school or college, where you just go in. You play a football game at lunchtime. You meet all the boys. You come out of it. Your best mates. But I think for me, initially, it was difficult to find that circle. But alhamdulillah, like with football, with ISoc, like ISoc especially, like I'll be honest, my main group of friends is from there. And that obviously that takes time to develop and to work on. I was saying for me, that was one of the things that I didn't expect, because when what you don't realize is that throughout your life, you're in this little bubble. Primary school, 30 in a class, 100 in a year, same thing with up until college. When you go to uni, you just lapped right into this place where there's 30, 40,000 people from all over the world, all different walks of life, all backgrounds, all religions, all, different political mindsets. Everything changes, and you're just scrambling, like, what do I do? Where do I, like, do you know what I mean? It can be quite overwhelming initially. And I know people who really struggled, like, till now, they're in maybe that first year, second year, and I don't know what to say to them, because it's just difficult, because I've been through it, and mine was short lived. But for some people, it can go on for ages. Honestly, some people go throughout their 3 years without properly sort of forming a circle of friends, and it's difficult because you need that circle of friends to fall back on, because a lot of uni life is the social aspect as well. Let's be honest. And if you don't have that group of friends, it can be quite difficult, especially when you see everyone around you forming those group of friends, and you think, oh, is it something wrong with me? Do I need to? And some people, they try to assimilate, and they tend to compromise, and they change certain things to fit in, and you see it. And that's really difficult, like, because I've seen it. That's really difficult for me to see it happen and not be able to do anything about it. But
Yeah,
whether I should do anything about it is a different question. But just, like, maybe it's not even my problem at all. But I'm just saying it's there to observe.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think friendship group is probably one of the most important ones. Coming from college to uni, college is different because you're in your own locality most of the time. So you're going with people with high school, and you're going with the people that you already know. But when you go to uni, it's totally different. You're meeting people who they're not in your locality. A lot of people, especially at University of Manchester, you get a lot of international students, people moving out for the likes of degrees like medicine, dentistry and stuff. So you got people from all over. So getting in, I mean, the difference is I've seen it at our uni at MMU it's slightly different. I don't know. I've never seen an issue with people not having friends, or I've never met anyone that's struggling to make friends personally anyway. And when they do, you sort of become their friend for that moment in time, and you're the transition period. If they talk to you like that, you're the transit, they like use you for a little bit. So they use you until they find they're good for, and then you like set them off on the way. They've got their group now. But it is one of the tests, and I think it's one of the things that people fear coming in. But obviously, when you should expect after 3 years, well, it's wrong for me to say you should expect, but after 3 years, you'd probably have a good group of friends. But it's strange you said about like ISoc, using ISoc to make friends and stuff. Like, all right, I had boys like Afsal and stuff at university at MMU, and that was through ISoc in itself. But our friendship group now consists of everyone from UM and me from MMU, but that was purely because of ISoc. It wasn't because I knew you from anything else. It was just because we went to retreat, didn't we? Or I knew us before. We knew of each other, but it was more from retreat. We went in February. Actually, it's been exactly 12 months now. But anniversary memories. Oh, let's not start that. We're going to a deep hole if we start talking about retreat. But yeah, it's amazing how much or what you should use to find friends. And just going on the topic of ISoc, actually, the reason why it's a good place to find friends, or it's a good place to find like-minded people, is because they're like-minded people. Now, the thing that I've seen at University of Manchester is it's like-minded in essence, where people are there for the same reason. Everyone's looking obviously for whatever reason they're there for, but also because the subject matter that they're studying is similar as well. So a lot of them are studying medicine, so you've got the foundations of multiple things, haven't you? I guess you've got the likes of their subjects, which are also you can relate on, and also the fact that you're there for your dean, you're looking to improve on that, you can help each other on that, so you sort of, I guess, you get the best of both in that respect.
I think, look, people join ISoc for different reasons, and you can have multiple reasons for joining ISoc. You don't just have to have one intention. Oh, I want to know where, like, no one, do you know what I mean? No one, like, everyone's got their own reasons. I don't think it's purely I don't think it's based on degrees either. Like, when I went in, yes, there's a few medics, but the year now there aren't a lot of medics either. So yes, there are a lot of medics and engineers and stuff, but there are a lot of other degrees as well. You find all sorts of wonderful and weird degrees as well, which is good, because you want that variety of people, because you're stuck around with medics all day in lectures. You don't want to go to ISoc and be stuck with medics, because joining medics are boring. But yeah, I think why people make good friends in ISoc, I think first and foremost, you're just spending that much time with people, planning events, because you have the standard pre-event motive, the post-event motive, And all that time that you spend with these people, naturally, you're going to build good friendships. I think literally that is one of the main reasons, just the amount of time you spend with people. Yes, I think everyone that comes to ISoc has some sort of everyone's got a different relationship with Islam that they've had in prior come to university. And when you come to university, it's like a fresh start. You know, very rarely do you know people that were there, you know, before. So you come in with a sort of fresh start, and I guess what does bring all those people together is the fact they want to do some good. They want to do some good, and I think ISoc does provide that. Like, I know ISoc gets a lot of criticism from all people, right? But what you cannot deny is, honestly, I mean, a lot of times purify our intentions. But it's a very good platform to get ajr, because first of all, you've got easy access to students. You've got so much control to do pretty much whatever you want. You've got resources and a good team at your disposal. Like, you think of it, right? We both know how easy it is to organize a lecture. Literally 5 minutes, you know, quick phone call to Ustad, Sheikh, this, that, 2 minutes to fill out a request form, a few publicity posts, that's it, you're done. And easily you can bring 40-50 people for 5-10 minutes worth of work. Inshallah, you're getting ajr for all those that have attended.
I mean,
like, what other stage in your life or can you guarantee that you're going to be in that position where you can pull off something like that very easily, that much effort, and inshallah attain that much ajr? And this doesn't go for lectures, this goes for, like, I've got a thing with, you know, a lot of lectures going on at ISoc and stuff. I'll go on to that later, but I'm just saying, like, that's just how easy it is. And that is an opportunity, despite I'm happy to take all the criticisms and all things we can improve, because there's loads we can improve on. But you cannot deny that it's not a waste of time. It's that there is some good that can come out of it, and it's such an opportunity. And because you think of it now, if you want to now join a masjid, a masjid committee, good luck with that. If you want to go join, you know, a youth committee centre committee, and you want to do your own thing, good luck with that. All right, you're not gonna have, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. Having no one sort of dictating to what you can and cannot do is good, in that you have a lot more control, a lot more freedom, a lot more flexibility. There's also, you know, the point of, you know, sometimes things can go a bit overboard, that mistakes are made. But I think the mistakes that you do at ISoc are actually important, because I make mistakes. We all make mistakes as a committee, but these mistakes are vital to your development post ISoc as well. So you know how it is. Once you go into the community, if you're not, you know, a 30-40 year serving member of a masjid, it's difficult to get in. All right. And here you've got an opportunity with resources as well, and to generally do what you want to do as well. Like, it's not necessarily, I'm going to do stuff for other people. No, if you have a project in mind, you know, bearing in mind logistical factors and all that stuff, you can pretty much get it done. And for me, that was what was, like, amazing about it. Like, wow, I can actually do stuff that I really want. Like, if you come in at the start of the year, like, with a checklist in your head, I want to do bang, 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 you can, if you're on it, at the end of the year, you can actually achieve all that stuff. And inshallah attain so much ajr out of it. And you've got an audience there, you've got a platform there. I don't see myself having that same platform post ISoc.
I think that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the platform more than anything, that you've got that to use, and the resources that are available within an ISoc, and the funds that we've got, and access to the speakers, and the Instagram pages, the Facebook pages to advertise this sort of thing. You are never going to find it again. And it's funny when you talk about criticism, because look, we're the presidents there, but I don't think anyone criticizes ISoc as much as we do, because we're stuck into it. But you criticize it in a way where it's constructive. So we even had a conversation yesterday, didn't we, talking about, like, the problem within ISoc, and we were talking to an Ustad to get his aspects on it. But that was a major criticism of an ISoc from us, that we're not trying to solve, because we're never going to fix it. It's more a fact that you do your part, and then you hope that other people can benefit from it as well. But taking from the good from the ISoc it's a massive platform that Definitely. University students are never ever, like, we're never going to get this opportunity again. I'm final year now, I'm president this year, I'm not going to be part of an ISoc next year. Whether I stay at university or not is a different matter, but I probably won't be, because once you're there, you sort of step back a little bit, and you let other people take the responsibilities on and whatnot. But the opportunities that come, you are never ever going to find them again. Like, the opportunities I've had, I went on to TV, what was that Big Question? I went on, we had radio shows, we've hosted Islamophobia awareness, and we got invited onto a talk there as well in front of like all the police officers and stuff, and we just roasted them in front of them because we had the opportunity to do so. But yeah, honestly, you're never going to get it again.
No, it's good. It's good you brought up, because what I will focus now on was just in intra-university. When you can even like say with the university itself, like if there's an issue, right, and you raise it to university, university actually listens to ISocs. Like how many things have happened, and we've spoken to the chaplain, spoken to staff members, and they're like, oh snap, the ISoc are unhappy about this less up. I mean, currently we're going through something with the SU. We wrote like quite a not a harsh letter. It was respectful, but it was quite a harsh email. Like this, we got a meeting with someone quite senior. Let's sort it out. You actually have a voice. Students generally, the student voice is actually a lot more powerful than what students actually think, even if it's as individuals. But when you have a collective, especially within the umbrella of ISoc, honestly, trust me, when you're in those meetings, you get listened to. And that's a fact. I'm saying it from experience. You get listened to, and you can push real change if you do things properly, and if you get to know the right people at university. That's within the university. Beyond that, looking at the community, over the past few years, honestly, I think there is a growing respect for ISoc from donors, from ustads, from business owners, from associations, charities. There is a genuine respect for ISoc. Like if you look 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, it was the ISocs going to charities begging them to form contracts. We know what happened at the start of the year, right? Charities are coming to us. We're having really nice conversations, really engaging discussions. Donors, all right, they're there. Look, I get messages all the time. Look, if there's anything, the start of the year, right, we wanted to do the fresher packs for the the portable prayer mats, the ones that we use. Folks, this was like a shortage issue, they couldn't get any. And I was like, oh, what do we do? I didn't want to spend like 400, 500 quid to get those, plastic matches, even though at the start of the year I thought we were going to be in campus and they would be essential, the whole COVID thing going on. And then someone said, just message a few community group chats. Wallahi, honestly, within 2 hours of me messaging community group chats, I got so many messages. How much do you want? Whatever you want, say a number. It's literally, and these are all within Manchester. And that's how some guy came, rang me. He was like, Aziz, I've got you covered. All mats on me. And he was like a big Muslim man. He didn't say, oh, come pick up. No, he drove them. He said, he sent me a selection. Which colors do you want? Which style do you want? And subhanAllah, no introductions, nothing, came and he drove over to my house and dropped them off. That was just one of the few. Let's look at McDougall's renovation, right?
Yeah, even
40 grand, all right, for a student uni prayer hall, all right? The target was 20. They absolutely smashed it. So I think, alhamdulillah, honestly, 6, 7, 8 years ago, they didn't have that. We now have that, and inshallah, if we maintain those relationships, it's only going to get better.
I think it's more because the people themselves, sorry to cut you off, I think it's more the people themselves, like, so we will be there one day, like inshallah, anyway, we can be then to facilitate people at university. We think we were there one day. So that now, because the generation has gone up, like, so that now even the people that we know in some friendship groups, they might be at the age of 29, 30, but they went through ISoc, so they can sort of like level on us when it comes to the issues and stuff that we face, especially when it comes to getting funding and getting hold of speakers and like funding events and stuff. Like, they can understand and they can level with us, so they're sort of more inclined to get involved when it comes to that. I feel.
Yeah, no, definitely, it's beautiful, and it's even those who weren't involved at ISoc at uni. So some people, like a lot of the studies speak to, they're like, we saw ISoc as this, we didn't really work well, but they're still, because I think generally, without raising our status up, or this is not out of arrogance, but they genuinely see a group of young people, and we're volunteers, we don't get paid, and ISoc does take quite a lot of your time, and they see that time being spent on good, and they appreciate that and they respect that. And we're not doing it for that, but they, from an outsider looking in, why would 15, 20, 25 young boys and girls sit in a meeting and organize and plan and put so much effort into something? Like, we're not getting paid. So, and they see that and they respect that, and I think that's something that we should really harness and use for our benefit and the benefit from some students on campus.
Yeah, definitely. And for people like who are looking to get involved, like, or even when they're looking from the outside in, they have to understand sometimes, where does all of this come from? So even when we talk about the prayer halls at MMU, the only reason we had Cavendish now is because of people who were from the ISocs who protested against the university to give us a prayer hall. Otherwise, they were praying in an ICT room upstairs in business floor. about 15 years ago. And even when you look at UMs, that's come from something. It's not just come out of thin air. That's because the ISocs have worked hard with the universities to sort of put this out there. And these are just some of the, like, it, if you can be sitting in a meeting with senior members of university, chancellors or council, like the top heads, and you can sit there and you can confidently fight your case as to why you should receive something, the experience that you're receiving from that in the 3-4 years that you're going to be at university, you're never going to get an opportunity for that, because the jobs that you're going to get, the part-time jobs, they're going to be retail, they're going to be something very basic which you're not going to sort of excel in. Is sort of something to get you by and fill your time with. And it's funny at the beginning when you mentioned like that, so I think, was it Sheikh Abu-Isa who said it, wasn't it? Who he said when you're at university, you're never ever going to find yourself with as much free time as you have now, and you don't realize until someone says it to you. But the free time that you get, like we were just speaking off camera and we were saying that, oh, I don't know where the weekends are gone, you don't know where the time's gone, but with ISoc, you actually fill your time with something. You are doing something. Like, so I've done a couple of podcasts over the weekend as well, and it takes a couple of hours here and there, and then by the time you finish and you sorted it out, so your evening's basically gone. But that's where you know that ISoc has filled that time. But it's not time wasted, it's time spent in good, which you probably wouldn't have done before. If I didn't do this, I probably would have been sat down watching telly or whatever, sat with family, just idling away. But if you've got an opportunity to get involved in something, then you should. Like, even this podcast, I've been wanting to set it up for a long time. If it wasn't for ISoc, I wouldn't have just set it up off my own back. For what reason? Like, if you don't have a following, if you don't have a platform to begin with, it's hard to get up and set something up. And even like at the beginning of this year, when I first walked in as president, I said to everyone, because it's COVID, like, the ease to set an event up now with it being online, you can do anything you want. Anything. There's no speaker that's too far away at the moment now because it's online. So whatever event you want to set up, make a list at the beginning and let me know and we'll get it on. So we've done a few. Everyone's ticked off some sort of list from theirs. We've done the mental health campaigns. We've done the Islamophobia awareness. We've got the talks in that people want. Every talk that we've done so far is because someone on the committee has wanted to hear it themselves and they think other people will benefit from it as well. So whatever people see, so I'm trying to say to people, obviously we do the work from behind the scenes, but whatever the people are seeing on Instagram that we're posting, it's not something that just me and you or you yourself you've put out there. It's people, normal students on the committee, who are wanting to see this themselves, and they will also think other people will benefit from, but they've just got the platform to do it, which I guess is the positive for them.
Yeah, no, definitely. You mentioned two important things there. The first is what previous generations have done, and we actually can't forget that. Like, the previous generations at ISoc, and I'm talking like 80s, 90s, 70s, they had it a lot harder than us. They were coming at a much different time, and they literally, like you said, literally had to protest for prayer spaces. They literally had to sign petitions. They had to do all that hard work for us to be where we are now. So I don't like this mentality of, the elders discount the elders. They don't know what's going on. There are issues between, the older generation, the new generation, but let's not forget their contributions and what they've allowed us to do. And, their guidance and their advice has to be respected. Not necessarily taken on board, but has to be respected, because they've done that graft, that hard work. And who knows, if we were in that position, would we have been able to put that graft in? Because we put a graft in now as a society, but it's not the same sort of graft. So I think that's an important point you made. And yeah, the second point about the events and stuff. Now, essentially, like I said, me and you have all got our own projects that we work on, but essentially what you see being put out is what committee actually puts out. Like, I don't go around saying, all right, we have to do this and this and this and this. Obviously, I'm there for advice for this. We try direct our committees and things into certain ways, through certain directions, through the advice again of ustads and shuyukh and whatever, and other community leaders and stuff like that. But what you see is a reflection of committee, and essentially that's what ISoc should be like. Do you know what I mean? It's the membership. They want to do something, they join the committee, they then put on what they want. Obviously, like I said, there are things we can improve on, 100%, and we are not perfect at all. We're nowhere near that. But again, the only thing we can do is just keep trying and keep building. And alhamdulillah, look, the idea is that when a new committee takes on when an old committee goes and a new committee takes over, the point isn't let's just try and rewrite the rule book, let's stop. No, you've got foundations to build on, all you have to do is just build on that. Like, alhamdulillah, I'm like extremely lucky to have the foundations that I've had at Manchester. You know, there is a difference between MMU and UOM, and that's, and not because of the work that I've done or the work that the person has done before me. It was because of the work that's been put by 10, 15 people before me. They've allowed us to do what we want to do. And the same with MMU, like MMU is still up there above other ISocs in the country. Like when you go to like FOSIS meetings, all right, and you do the president's meetings and you see what other ISocs are going through, like
It's not easy. No,
it's not easy. It's
it's
something
not.
like, still, you know, I was speaking to someone from FOSIS. He was like, you know, 5 years ago, he went to like an ISoC in like a rural city or whatever, in a rural place, and he was like, their prayer room was in between two pubs or something like that. Like honestly, it's,
Wow,
and even
subhanallah, yeah.
it's honestly, so it's levels.
Yeah,
It's, and I'm not saying that in an arrogant area. I'm just saying that, alhamdulillah, count your blessings, basically.
definitely, yeah. You don't
Yeah,
realize until you speak to other people and
yeah,
you see that, do you? Okay, we've spoken a lot about like the events at ISoc and why should people, not in essence why people should get involved, but what they've seen. But even for the person who doesn't want to get involved, they can also benefit from an ISoC. And at the beginning, why I'm saying this is because at the beginning we mentioned about friends, but this comes into this is because if you've got friends who are part of ISoC and you've got friends who are, or they might not be part of ISoC, but they get involved in the events and stuff, and they're like-minded people, you spend a lot of time in the prayer hall. So one thing that's the most important to me, or that I've seen or that I've experienced even, is that when you're in a group or an environment like this, even at university, no one's ever going to let you miss a prayer, no matter how hard you try. Even if you're you're being lazy one day and you think I'll go pray at home, it's not going to happen. They'll say to you, nah, home. And it's in motivation as well. Like, I know, look, university, you have to speak about it in a real way. University is sometimes hard. You get tired. You might be sat in library and you think, oh, I'll pray later. I'll pray when I get home. I'll pray in 10 minutes. I've still got time. But that's not the point. So when you see what motivates you, which it might not be right, but at least you're going to the prayer hall and at least you're praying in Jama'ah, that the boys are there and you'll pray together and then you'll leave together as well. And I think it's really important because otherwise you're not going to get that. If you're going to be with, if your friendship group isn't going to encourage you to do that and you're not going to encourage them, you've lost out on a massive important aspect. As a Muslim and as a student, you've got the best of both there, and it's an opportunity that a lot of people I've seen aren't taking as well. And it's maybe not of no fault of their own, maybe they've not taken that leap yet to get into find that friendship group. But I think the most important aspect is obviously we don't want to be missing our salat, and to get that encouragement from your own friends and to get that encouragement from the people that are around you as well. I think that's a massive aspect amongst other things as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. This idea of an environment, right? And it's a two-sided coin, but environment can be really important. Even if you don't have that level, Iman fluctuates all the time. But if you don't have that level of Iman or that level of commitment to your deen at the start, the environment can eventually, honestly, you creating that environment, that's one of the best forms of dawah. You don't have to say anything, you don't have to do anything, you don't have to preach, whatever. Just create a welcoming environment, an environment that, inshallah, will lead to you praying the 5 salats. And like he said, you know, for example, like when you hear, you know, scholars speaking about differences between Muslims in the West and Muslims back home, if you're a Muslim back home, even if you're not, you know, on it in terms of the deen and stuff, the environment will still carry, you know, there's still the adhan, there's still the masjid, there's, you know, your family and friends. Here, it's not the same, and you need to try and create your own environments, try create your own bubbles. And like I said, it's a two-sided coin because the environment can only take you on for so long. You don't want to be in a position where once that environment goes bang, you come crashing back down. But creating that nice, welcoming, joyous friendship, brotherhood, sisterhood environment can be really powerful to actually bring someone in. And then inshallah, once they see that, they can then sort of get going, inshallah.
Yeah, I think it's like a fighting battle, ongoing battle with yourself. Like you said, living in the West, it's your religion and the West sort of, they go clash against each other. It doesn't fit within. So like when you have a lecture, they're not going to stop your lecture just so you can go and pray, or they're not going to say to you, you can be late because you've got Jummah. You have to make that excuse and turn up late regardless of whatever happens. So having them people to bring you back down every now and again and keep you in check and say to you, look, you need to fix up a little bit here, don't do that, don't go and chat to that girl here, like come to the prayer hall instead. Like it keeps you on the straight and narrow in essence, because I can't remember what it was. I think I saw something on Twitter, I saw something on Instagram. It was saying like, they're the sort of friends that you should want, who you're scared to sin in front of, or you're embarrassed to sin in front of, not the sort of people that you're embarrassed to show good in front of, or like show that you want to go and pray, because they're sort of going to take you away from your deen. And it's, I don't know, I think it's just sad. I think it's sad if you go through the whole of university and you've missed out the massive side of like finding a good group of Muslim friends and also fulfilling your duties as a Muslim as well. And I'm not saying that ISOC's the only way. No, I'm not saying that
definitely
at
it's
all.
not. As a caveat, it's not.
Yeah, it's not at all. ISOC isn't the be all and end all that you need to come, and that's what only the amount of boys that we meet at the prayer halls and stuff that don't have a clue even what ISOC is, but they're still there. But that's because out of their own desire that they're there. I'm saying that for the people who struggle on a daily basis, maybe that it's just like it's an extra help, if you will, to put it in better words. It's like it's an extra push, it's an extra motivation. And especially if you're new, let's say everyone's at different levels of that iman, everyone's at different levels of their journey. And if you're sort of new, you're sort of becoming into your deen, you want to better yourself, it's sort of a good place to start. ISOC it's just a good starting platform. After that, you can go where you want. But if you want to come there and you meet, because everyone I've found is that no one's going to judge anyone based on their level of deen. No one's going to come in and start doing an Aqidah check at the door. I mean, we know a few boys that might, but they're not going to do it at the McDougal's
Generally
door.
putting it out there, there's probably more religious people outside of ISoc than in.
Yeah, 100%.
Straight up. So that notion of all the shuyukh and asatidha that we know, most of them weren't even part of ISoc. So that tells you something. Do you know what I mean? It's not a necessary qualification or like, do you know what I mean? So I think that is a myth. But the thing is, it can come across like that, because even the asatidha were saying that when they were at uni, they would look at the ISoc, they look at all the beards and the abaya, and they're like, oh, mashallah, like these guys. And I get it, it can come across like that sometimes. And that's why we need to be careful with how we portray ourselves. And that's why I bang on a lot about public image, because it really does impact things. And I've had, quite a few stern words with a lot of people. And I've had a few, I've had a few telling offs as well, because it is important. But honestly, what you do want, it's not like that at all. It can come across as a bit cliquey. That is, I'll admit that, because that's just been the case for many years. But I think that's just down to the fact that when you naturally spend that much time with people, you're going to build strong relationships. But I think you mentioned something really important there about not having yes men around you all the time, and having people that will criticize you as part of your friendship group. And honestly, this was one of my last conversations with Abdurrahman Bayuk, and he was like, Aziz, you guess, my closest boys. And I was guessing. I was like, no. I was guessing. He's like, no. I was like, come on, man. And he told me the names of like 2-3 brothers. I was like, really? I was like, Aziz, these guys, they rinse the hell out of me. He goes, if I do something wrong, they'll be on to me. They'll be on my case. He's like, Aziz, naturally, when you're part of ISoc, you can have so many yes men. Everything's around you. The big boy, people listen. You say something that happens. He goes, you need stern. He's like, keep this X person around you, Y person around you, because they will set you straight. He goes, I'll set you straight as well. Do you know what I mean? And even like, for example, I remember we had something, we were together driving, I said something, you're like, Aziz, like, I've been saying that, like, remember that?
Yeah,
like,
I
Aziz,
remember.
like, that's not on. I was like, right, okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
yeah. And it sort of it checks you, because you want to hear what someone else will also tell you. Do you know what I mean? Especially if it's your boys, you want them to sort of be the sort of people who, if you have stepped out of line in whichever way, and they're doing it only for the betterment of you. And I know we've spoken a lot about friendship, but I feel in university it's quite an important aspect. That's why I'm going on a little bit. Okay, we've spoken a lot about friends, and we've spoken a lot about the benefits having a good friendship group around you, which you hear a lot at university anyway. Before you get to university, everyone encourages you, make sure you get a good friendship group, make sure you get this, make sure you get that, because it's important. And the amount of talks that we've done as well on the benefits of having a good friendship group as well, it'll go on forever, and it's a conversation that's never ending, I think. But okay, I think we've rinsed as well, like the positives of an ISoc. What would you change within an ISoc itself? So we've spoken about the benefits that you get, the networking, the friends that you make, and the events that you can put on. But what would you change about an ISoc as a president, let's say, or even not as a president, just as someone looking at it? What would you change?
That's a really good question, and that's actually I actually spoke about this to committee last semester, at the end of the first semester, and I don't know why it clicked or how it clicked, but something just came to mind. I spoke to a few people about it, and people who've left uni and gone on, and they're like, bang on, that's the first thing that we felt when we left. It's good that you're having those thoughts now. And in essence, what it is I think as an ISoc, we've moved away from what our core purpose is. When you reduce it to pure foundations, what should our purpose be? And that is to fulfill and accommodate for the needs of Muslim students on campus, full stop. That's it in a nutshell. Now, when you look at, and this is in no way patronizing, condescending the work that my committee have done, the committee before me, all the like, mashallah, it is all beautiful, and may Allah reward it all fourfold. Okay, but when you come and review at the end of the year and you say, okay, let's split things into how many educational events, how many social events, how many this, how many that, you'll always find a large majority of those events, even though they might be attended, usually they're not attended well, but a large majority of those events are focused on one particular area. So for example, I had a thing, and I said this to committee straight up. If you're the things, you go into ISoc and you're thinking, okay, now I'm in ISoc, I need to think a certain way, I need to put on events in a certain way because that's how it's been done for the past few years. And so you've seen what ISoc's been pumping out year on year. Think, okay, khalas, I need to keep doing the same thing. Okay, we've been having lectures, I need to keep pumping out lectures, I need to keep pumping out reminders, I need to pumping out classes. Now, do you think that your average Muslim student wants to attend 3 or 4 lectures a week? Genuinely, they've got lectures Monday to Friday. Do you genuinely? And I'm not. Lectures are very important, and lectures have had a powerful impact on me personally. I'm saying your average student, let's say your normal student who's just coming into uni, they've got lectures Monday to Friday. Do we really think that's how we're going to put on things? People say outreach, ISoc's got an outreach issue, and it's mentioned at every hustings and at every AGM and at every WGM. It's always mentioned. So let's review and look, what do we actually put out? And I think we've lost direction a little bit. It's almost become okay. And the thing is, generally, I think we don't even want to put that quantity of things that we're putting out. We just point out because that's what we've been putting out for years. Let's reduce it and look to what our students actually want. And that first stop starts by actually speaking to them, saying, what do you actually want? And I think the reason why it clicked for me was we've got friends who run like regular academic classes for their particular course. It's open for all non-Muslim. And I went to one of their sort of academic workshops, and they had like 80, 90 people, Muslims, non-Muslims. And it was like, and I was just thinking, like, when have an ISoc like tried something like this? Now, every single student requires academic support. Why are ISocs not offering, academic support drop-in sessions for medics, for engineers, for your lawyers, for your biology, for your computer, whatever? Beyond that, mentorship programs. Look at what the mentorship programs the uni are putting on. For example, the medics ones, for example, I know is very social based, very alcohol based. It's technically they're not to give you any academic support, technically. And then you look, okay, so why aren't we offering something like that? Sports, right? Sports, honestly, it's one of those things that, like, when I first came to ISoc, I had the choice of, you've heard this story before, I had the choice of joining like the medics team, which were well run, well ironed, very, they had a proper infrastructure there, they had merch, they had proper organization. And I went into the ISoc, and it's not, I'm not discrediting them at all, but they weren't given the funding, they weren't given the direction, they weren't given any help. And I went in and I was like, yeah, I think I'll go with the medics. And I was like, why is no focus put on that? And because, and I saw Muslim students, and I experienced the environment, what the environment was like for the medics football team. And I'm telling you, it's difficult. It's really, really difficult in terms of after every game, there's, alcohol shouts, there's every single social event is always haram in it. And the thing is, they're really nice guys. Aziz, oh no, we completely understand, but just, come to the bar. We don't have to drink, we'll get you a Coke. Do you know what I mean? They missed the point. And I'm just thinking, like, and I've seen Muslim students go in and being dragged into that environment. And like, why aren't we offering an alternative? Because it's not hard. And alhamdulillah, I think the following year we put a lot more money, a lot more thought, a lot more practice. And when we did it properly, we got like 60, 70 people coming to our trials football. And I think later on in that year, I think the sisters started like a weekly sports social. These things are generally needed. Socials in and of itself, right? Last year when I was VP, I was like adamant, and you know how stubborn I am. I was like, I am putting a social event on no matter what happens, like a day trip out. So semester one, I think a brother and sister organized it. It was amazing. In the second semester, it was like COVID was getting closer. Tickets weren't selling, but I was like, I'm going to do everything I can just to sell tickets for social event, because again,
Is that the Blackpool one?
The Blackpool one. And I'm telling you, bro, selling tickets was missions. But I literally went around begging people to buy the
By the
tickets.
way, can I just stop you at this point and say
Yeah.
that this was the peak of COVID at the beginning,
No, it wasn't
and
peak. No, it was
it
like
was a
2 weeks
peak,
before the
but
lockdown. 2 weeks
also
before
for
lockdown.
anyone that's out there listening, any like national statistics in the UK or Manchester that want to know where the peak came from in March or April, this guy right here, he's the the man who put out every person was ill after that event.
No. Let's be fair. It was a good 2 weeks before. It was a good 2 weeks before. And why I was so adamant is because honestly, so many people want socials. So many people want socials. But then you look at what other sites are offering. It's not easy for Muslims to get engaged with those sort of things because it's not the right environment. And when you and then I think on the day I spoke to one of the community sisters. I was like, okay, so how many community sisters have you got there to help? She's like, I don't have any community sisters. They're all sisters I've never seen before. I was like, alhamdulillah, that's it for me. That's what that's what I want. You bring in those people because let's be honest, the majority of the Muslim student population on campus, you might bring them in through, an interesting talk or a lecture, but the majority of them are gonna be brought in by creating an environment and creating something that interests them. Okay. And the educational stuff and the spiritual stuff, they'll just come naturally with it. And that was my point. And I really want to stress that, we need to reevaluate. And even now, like we've put a condition when you fill out like the event forms, you have to write a little bit about what is, so on the event form you fill out venue, publicity, whatever, what is the purpose of this event? How is this going to benefit Muslim students? And the event lead has to write that. They have to have a think. And I know it might sound a bit patronizing, but it's good for us to get used to that. That we're not just doing stuff because it was done before. We're not just doing stuff because it's easy to put on. No, I'm actually doing this because there's a need and I want to try and fulfill that. Do you know what I mean? So for me, that was, I know I've waffled on for so much. I don't think anyone's going to understand what I've just said, but I think we need that little just to rethink, because my fear is in a few years' time, if we continue this sort of mentality where we're not listening, we're not aware, we're not looking at it through the other's eyes,
The effectiveness will be lost.
And honestly, I think we can just plateau, like societies, and you can start a society. Like if you start a society now and you create a semi-halal environment and you do stuff that ISoc can't do right now, like all the socials, all the sports events, bro, they'll fly past us.
Yeah,
they'll fly past us. And the reason why they're not is because they don't have as much resources and they don't have as much training, and they don't have that structure that we have. But it's such a shame, I feel. I think it's a missed opportunity that we're not utilizing that, because I think we just, like, even the people planning these events, even when I was doing this last year, bro. So I'm not putting down anyone. I was doing the same thing last year. Even I was looking back, like, was I doing it because I wanted to do it, or am I doing it because that's just what ISoc does and what? Do you know what I mean? Does it make sense? I think that's the biggest thing. I think we need to try and develop multi, how do you say it? Just a well-rounded Muslim student.
Yeah.
Not
I think it's true.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, go.
I think it's true when you say, when you go back to the foundations of why you're doing this, why is it so you're going to ease a Muslim's student's life within university whilst also aiding the academic side of things. So if you're then going to put on events, like, you're going to help them in the academic side of things as well, and you're going to sort of bring them in through that, but also they'll sort of get the taste of the spiritual side of things. So they might not have anything to do with ISoc, but you're just putting this event on. It might be something to do with medicine. You might have put on like a little revision session for them, third year revision session, say to them, come here every week, and then it's nothing to do with Islam at all. It's nothing to do with the religious side of things, apart from it's in a halal environment. You're making it in a halal environment for them. But then you also, once they get to know, they come to other events, and then one thing leads to another. And it was something that someone said on a different podcast a couple of podcasts ago. I had a brother called Abu Musa on there, and he was talking about the working life, and he was talking about like the trials that come for a Muslim within the corporate environment. And he was saying, look, when you go to an interview, the first thing what's going to happen, if there's a female interviewer or interviewee there, what are you going to do? She's going to ask you to shake your hand.
Yeah.
Is she or is she not? And you're going to be like, well, what can you do? Unless you told him prior, you're not going to say to him, no, I can't shake your hand there. And then some people can't. Okay, it's a test that you've got to go through, but some people can't do it. They can't say, no, I can't shake your hand, they'll just go and do it. Whereas I think if you apply that same concept, and you were saying basically, look, if you don't want to go through that, make changes within your own life and go and set up your own business and do that. Whereas that's the same concept we do with ISoc. If we're going to let our Muslim students just go out there and do that, when we can instill the changes, when we can provide these halal environments that they can still experience the same university life out there, then that's the whole reason we're here. But I think that is a good change. I see again, the question we spoke about was about changes that we'd see within ISoc, wasn't it? And I think one of them is, I can understand that. I think even whilst he was saying it, it got me thinking in my head, I wish he told me this 6 months ago so I could have done it at the beginning of my year.
No, it's not too late, like I said. We're still in February, we've still got a semester to go, but alhamdulillah, I had that moment before, spoke to a few people about it, and inshallah, like, we'll be putting things in place. But inshallah, that should be something, because again, nobody said it's not necessarily Islamic, but you helping out a brother or a sister, regardless of whatever it is, and if you just help your brother or sister with a matter, regardless if it's Islamic or not, that is Islamic in and of itself.
Yeah, it is.
Do you know what I mean? And I think we just need to realize that. And I think that the thing that I think needs improving. I think the second thing is self-development. I think we're just so busy trying to put on events for the people, so busy about trying to put on different things and projects in this. Again, it becomes the environment is carrying you, and you come to the end of the year and like, okay, so have I done anything for me? Have I worked on anything for me? What's my Quran like? What's my relationship with my family like? Bro, you're late. When honestly, last year I would go out the house at 8 because I had uni, come back at like 8 or 9. I barely saw my family. And you look at the end of like, am I deficient in that area? And you look at your own Islamic knowledge, you look at your own sort of personal development, your skills, your life skills, your corporate skills. What's happening with these? And I think that's one of the other things you just spend. And a famous story that one of my mentors told me. He goes, he knew someone in London, proper head of the ISoc, president of the ISoc, busy doing this, that, and a few years after he left Islam. It was the environment that was carrying him. It wasn't like, of course, like we said, everyone's got their own intentions, everyone's got their own circumstances, but it just turned out to be there in the zone, in the moment. It was the environment that's carrying him, and because he'd left himself so vulnerable by not focusing on himself, what he needs to do for him, for his family, there was just nothing there to support him. Because like you said before, within the university setting, it's your friends, it's your mentors, it's the ustads, it's the khatibs, whatever, that are holding you up. When you're out there, those things are no longer there. For some people, it can be a big shock. Those who, and this is why I tell people, don't go, like, obviously work as hard as you want, but don't go all out, because you don't want to leave like a vacuum when you leave. Because vacuums can be dangerous in your life. Whenever there's a vacuum, anything can fill that vacuum, and that can take over your life so quick without you realizing. And so self-development is massive. We've both tried to work on things this year. We've tried to do the Quran competition. We tried to do something that's sort of long-term. People, let them develop their own relationship with the Quran. We did those tarbiyah sessions. Again, these aren't major things. These aren't solutions, but these are just hopefully steps in the right direction.
Yeah.
And that, I think those two things, yeah.
Another one as well, I think it's more of a criticism, but I guess it's not a criticism of ISoc, it's a criticism of ourselves, that we spend, that it's hard finding the balance between you putting what first, your studies, or what comes first, your studies or ISoc. So it's funny when you mentioned that you're deficient in the area of your family, like you come home at 8 p.m, 9 p.m. sometimes. On a Friday, we used to have the Friday night talks, and we used to be even one, I don't want to say on camera, the times used to come back, but then you end up, when you're at home and they ask you where you've been or whatnot, you'll get asked. You wouldn't say that you use anything to do with ISoc, because the more you mention ISoc and the time that you're spending there, it becomes a negative sort of thing at home, that okay, you're putting this first when you should be putting your studies first. And I think it's true. Only afterwards, sometimes when you realize it's too late. I've heard stories and stuff of people who spent so much time in ISoc that they actually ended up failing their studies, and then they had to drop out and whatnot. And it happens, it's real. So I think it more comes, which I can see as a positive. Why? Because you learn how to manage your time, you learn to balance time, and you learn to prioritize as well. So if you've got an assignment due for tomorrow, but I'm sat here doing a podcast, I haven't, by the way, I'm not dropping myself in it, but if I did and I'm sat here doing a podcast, then I've got my priorities wrong.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
essence, because it comes first. So it's like, I'm not gonna say it's 50% uni, 50% ISoc, because it depends on the situation. It depends on the person themselves, and depends how well they can manage their time. But I would say it's slightly a criticism, as in, if people like us, who, when people come onto our committee, we don't enforce that. We don't say to them, look, you need to prioritize this, and it's ISoc, sorry, uni first, and then sort of maybe sympathize with them in essence, that if they've got an assignment, okay, what we've told them to do might be a little bit late, or even for us, we might be a little bit late doing something for ISOC because we've got the uni work. It can't be the other way around. It can't be that you're doing your uni work late because of ISOC. You sort of got managed time, and that was going to be a podcast in itself. I wanted I've got someone coming on. We are going to talk about time and prioritizing the blessings of time. And it's the first thing you mentioned, actually, was the amount of free time we have at university, which can be filled. Okay, so we spoke about the negatives and the positives and stuff. Is there any other changes that you would instill, just the last one before we move on to the next point, that you want to see, maybe?
I think it's realizing our worth, both within the university and both within the community, and utilizing that. Like, I didn't start this. This was set up, years before me. I've just tried to build on it as much as I can, and it's just to say to people, look, just to give students that empowerment that, look, something wrong at university, you can do something about it. You can genuinely do something about it. Like, now, currently, we're starting talks about trying to enhance the Muslim experience with medical students specifically, because it's a big school. We go through a lot of issues regarding to faith and challenges of faith that other degrees won't, just because of the nature of the course. And honestly, the reception that we've had from representatives at the university has been so welcoming. Obviously, there's going to be, the higher you go up, the more resistance you're going to get, all right? But the reception that we've got is actually really, really empowering. So it's just, please do things just beyond what ISOC traditionally does. And if there raise issues, use your rights, right? The thing is, I feel because of all this political correctness and cancel culture, we've become scared to, no, generally, like, we've become scared to say what is right and what we believe in. And it's like, oh no, don't say that. They might, no, it was in a respectful tone, using your right. You're well within your rights. Express things respectfully and get your points across, because if you don't, you're going to get trampled over. If you don't get your points across, if you don't stick up for what your beliefs are, then they're going to think it's okay. And it's not necessarily like they're, the other is deliberately being, Islamophobic, or no, it's just that nothing, no one's saying anything, so they just assume it's fine. All right, so you raise those things open within the community as well. Really try and branch out and network out. There is a lot of love for ISOC out there. There is a lot of, not just ISOC, there's a lot of love for Muslim students. Scrap ISOC. There's a lot of love for Muslim students, because the challenges that we're going through right now are a lot different than the challenges that Muslim students were going through 5 years. Like, that generational gap is becoming smaller and smaller over time, and the community is realizing those challenges, and they generally do want to help. So again, just utilize that.
Yeah, I like it. Good point. Okay, let's move on to life after ISOC as the last point. What is life like for a student, maybe a president like yourself? What's left for you after ISOC? Like, I'm sure unless you go for a second term, inshallah,
No.
inshallah, the du'as are being made by many people out there from what I've
not-
heard.
not
I'm not sure why, but they are. So what is life? Okay, what's life like for someone post ISOC then? Well, what opportunities are available? Like, what does it set you up
So
for?
there's honestly there's loads. And like, Hamza, right now running an initiative within our ISOC is that every committee meeting I'm bringing in a representative from a different Muslim organization, because we talk about, ISOC's just the start, there's more to do after. But then, okay, where? So your average student who isn't really involved, like who isn't fortunate enough or lucky as us to be able to talk to those organizations, associations, like, okay, where do I go? So the idea is that we're bringing individual representatives from MEN, from CAGE, from FEMISO, from MAB, from the Muslim Scout Network, all these people trying to get in touch with, bring them and actually provide proper opportunities. Because ISOC, the unfortunate reality is, and when you speak to the people who've been through university, not just ISOC, just the general university experience, whatever da'wah work, whatever community they're involved in, okay, I've ISOC, okay, that's it, I've completed it, mate, done it. No, you haven't. It should be just the start. And I've got this thing, and I've developed this sort of thought process over mine. In my head, I call, like, the levels of influence. I think first and foremost, the first level of influence that you have is yourself. Okay, so in my head, I've built up this levels of influence thing, and bear with me. The first one that I think there is that the level of influence, which is your own level of influence, which is yourself. Okay, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Hajj towards the end, He says, "Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu rka'u wasjudu wa'budu rabbakum waf'alul khayra la'allakum tuflihun." Do all these good deeds, worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? So that you may succeed. Because, and that is that should be your first priority when you're raised up from your grave, fearful, scared, naked. Your woman is running away from her husband, a woman's running away from her child, you know, the suckling baby's just tossed away from her, that you're going to be accountable for you. So you've got to make sure that you are well equipped, that you are working on yourself, that you're pure. I'm not saying you have to be a sheikh before you go do any community work, right? None of us here are sheikhs, all right? You need to at least have your basics covered, all right? You know, your standard, your salah, your faith, your belief, at least to the extent that, you know, that if you're crossing or approaching a red line, you know, like, you can recognize that there is a red line and you're going to go seek help. So that sort of first level of influence. So I wouldn't recommend anyone to go out and do community works like halaqas, this or that, if even the 5 prayers they're not doing, because it's just, I'm not saying be perfect, because none of us are perfect. I'm not even saying but I'm just saying at least have that in mind. That should be your first priority. The next one is your immediate family and friends, because they have a responsibility upon you. وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. All right, the Prophet said in the hadith that you are responsible for your own, you know, you compared the, you know, the shepherd and his flock. You are responsible for your flock. Make sure your brother, your siblings, make sure that you're there for them, that you're a guide there for them, that you're doing dawah to them, you're in all aspects, not just Islamic dawah, but for their education, for their well-being, for their own, that you're there for them. And that has to be ultimate responsibility. That has to be your responsibility. Then beyond that is where the community work comes in, and I think community work is massively important. Like, and our generation connected to the younger generation. Now you think of it. Imagine a 12-year-old Ismail has a 21, 22-year-old Ismail at his shoulder, guiding him through his challenges. Bro, honestly, the challenges that kids are going through now, they're so different to what we're going through. Like, even when I'm speaking to my little brother, there's things happening at year 6, year 7 that never have happened in my time. Like I said, the generational gap is getting smaller, the challenges are getting more difficult. These youths, they honestly, they need help, and not the sheikhy Islamic help, but just having someone who's been through those experiences, who's experiences the same issues, same problems, and can be of help to them. And it's like you know, it's a weak hadith, but you know, you can narrate weak hadith if it's for, you know, of benefit. It's like the hadith where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the angels to a people to destroy them, but then they said, oh Allah, there's one person there who, you know, he worships and is good. You go start with him first, right? Because it was just, okay, he was doing his own thing. He wasn't trying to positively influence his environment. And if you look at all the messengers, what was their goal? To, you know, establish tawheed, to bring about people to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Shu'aib says in the Quran, وَمَا أُرِيدُ إِلَّا الْإِصْلَاحَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُ. No, إِنْ أُرِيدُ إِلَّا الْإِصْلَاحَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُ. What I want is just the betterment of my people. Because essentially by worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and all things that come with it, the betterment of people comes with that as well. But that is an essential part of our deen, the betterment of the people around you. You can't just sit that your goal shouldn't be, okay, I just want a nice job, you know, a wife, a car, kids, private school, this and that. I sit myself in another house and just live out my life. That's not that. I think that's a very shallow understanding. And I'm not saying you have to go around and just revive the whole community of Manchester. No, your job, your role might just be your little brother. Your role might just be that family friend. Your role might be the halaqa. Your role might be all the community of Manchester. Your role might be the whole Muslim community. And everyone will have their own different role. But I'm saying that I think it's a massive priority. I think it, and then I think the level beyond that, and I think this is probably the hardest thing. Often, us living in the West, we live on our own little bubble, and we build this superiority complex over back home, and it's a reality. I do that all the time. You know, you have that thing where, you know, this
Back home where? Back home, which one? Syria, Palestine?
Palestine, man. Palestine. Don't talk about Syria, Palestine. And this is a conversation I had with someone, and it was like, again, we're focused on this community work here, which is good. The next step above that is okay, what are you doing for the Ummah back home? And people don't see it as a priority because it's not within the immediate vicinity. But it is important because you've had the luxury of being able to live in the West. You've had the healthcare, the education, the skills, the qualifications, the experiences that a lot of people back there don't have. I think the ultimate level for me is to actually go back there and be able to help people, to influence something. I'm not talking about relief, right? Because us Muslims are good at charities. Yeah, every Zayd Amr has a charity. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about genuinely trying to, and I'm not talking political level, right? Politics, forget it. Yeah, politics back home, it's not going to happen, right? There's bigger boys playing the game. Yeah, I'm just saying on an individual, on a community level, to use what you've learned to go back there and try and influence positive change. I think an example of that, and I think for me as a medic, or yet to be a medic, inshallah, and this was, and it's not, I'm not part of it, but I see an example of it, is one of my mentors as well. So he's a surgeon. Every few months he goes on these missions to like war-torn countries. He goes on these missions to like third world countries, really severely under deprived, no infrastructure, and they go train medics there. They go train first aiders, train they train surgeons, because they don't have the resources that we have. They don't have that, and they go there and they do honestly life-saving stuff. Honestly, I can give 1 million lectures to someone. Is that as good as saving someone's life? Genuinely saving someone's life. All right, potentially changing their life forever. You don't know what benefit that could bring. And I think that level of thinking, like I said, I haven't come up with this. This is just through experiences, through advice from my mentors and my teachers. I think I think we need to start developing, not necessarily this specific level, but that sort of deep thinking, that you have to think beyond just, again, the typical fantasy of me, myself, my family, my wife, my kids, my work, 9 to 5 for 40 years, retire at 60, 50, and then khalas. I think there has to be, and that's how you revive Islam. That's how, because Islam is a way of life. And inshallah, ask Allah subhanahu to bless us with with the power, with the strength, with the people. Honestly, investing in people, the last thing I'll say, is one of the best things that we can do. And you look at Prophet's legacy, he didn't leave behind buildings or organizations, or he just left behind Sahaba. And what did they do? They changed the world. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Do not discount investing in people, investing in youth, invest in anything that you بلغوا عني ولو بآية, like just spread something. I mean, even if it's just one area, anything. And the thing is, you don't have to be, like I said, this top level sheikh to do something. All right, and everyone has their different role. Some people, yes, it might be Islamic stuff, might be halaqat. For some people, it might be running a football club within their community center. For someone else, it might be offering free tutor sessions to those under deprived kids in areas that mosque sides, Ugandans and stuff like that. I think everyone has a role to play, and I think encourage specialization as well. Let's not try and be, what's it called? What's it called when you do a jack of all trades?
Jack of all trades, yeah.
Have a breadth of knowledge, have a breadth of experience, but really focus yourself and your energies on something. Even look at the Sahaba, like you had Zayd ibn Thabit. He was, he was he was the person who collected the Quran, who wrote it all down. He was the translator of the Prophet ﷺ. That was his thing. He was the Prophet ﷺ sent him, and he learned like 3-4 languages in the space of 2 weeks. Right, and at 13, he was the state translator. That was his thing. Prophet ﷺ, he spotted a talent. He spotted someone who was extremely intelligent, and khalas, that was his thing. Khalid bin Walid, what was his thing? We all know all the lads. Oh yeah, he slaughtered this guy, this battle, he won this battle. A military leader. All these Sahaba, they have their own characteristics, right? Everyone was just specialized, and that's how I think, as a community, you move forward. Inshallah, that's also sometimes to make it easier for all of us and to give us the guidance and the tools and the knowledge and the advice from our teachers to, inshallah, enable us.
Who was good at that as well? You mentioned him before, me, like elevate his ranks in Jannah and granted higher status. Abdurrahman al-Bayuk. When he was good at like the post ISoc life, like what he did. So I remember he used to say that he doesn't believe in, not that he doesn't believe in charities, but he didn't think it was enough, like to just put a direct debit of £5 or £10 every month into a charity, and it's enough. So what did he go and do? You set up with yourselves and chaplain MMSF, Manchester Muslim Student Fund, and I think that's just one example, perfect example of doing more for Muslims than you are doing, not for yourself, but because you recognize there's an issue. So you know there's an issue, but like you what's it when you're selfless, like you're so selfless that you, the more you think about the issues, the more you want to do. So in ISoc you see it. In ISoc you will see the issues from A to B to C all the way to Z. You'll could label every single issue out there that needs help, but you in 3 years or in 2 years, you're never going to be in ISoc for 3 years anyway. At a normal degree level, you're going to be there maximum year and a half or 2 years, and it's not enough to then do all of that. Or even it's not practical either when you've got your degree going on. So when you've got afterwards, when you've got the resources, like you've got a bit more money, you might have a bit more networking, you might have a bit more, not a bit more time, but you've got like the weekends, maybe you've got like the evenings and stuff that you can sort of give, and all right, you've not got married yet, you've not got kids, you've got all this time then to think, you know what, everything I've learned within ISoc itself, I'm then going to go put into practice, use my network, use the contacts that I made within ISoc itself or even beyond, and I'm going to create something. I'm going to do something which is going to be for the betterment of the people. And obviously I know that isn't fulfilling all the stages of that you said, but it leads to that. So you start small, maybe okay, like I say, you start within yourself, start within the family, you move on, but eventually it will become something big, because then people will see you doing it and they'll want to do it. So the charity, it wasn't just set up by himself. It was a few people jumped onto the bandwagon. They realized, okay, this is what our train of thought is as well, and we want to now instill this change.
No,
So
definitely.
there's plenty to do.
Honestly.
There's plenty of
Yeah,
work.
last time I'll see have mercy on him, widen his grave, and say grandchild, because he was a big influence on me. And I've said this a lot. When you look at Rahman, it wasn't that, you know, what he did was that he specialized. So he had his thing of tajweed in the Quran, and this people have taught the Quran before him, 100%. Millions of people have. But what made him have what made people have so much love for him is that he just did that consistently, and that's what you want. Whether it's fourth year, fifth year, where it's working night shifts, whether he was working weekends, whatever, he had a thing and he was going to do it regularly, regardless of what happened. And that's what distinguishes, you know, these people, these community figures, and the normal people. The normal person can do a one-off thing every now and then, but it's these guys that just realize the importance of this sort of thing, and they will do it on a regular basis. Like, he didn't come with anything new. It wasn't the tajweed, Quran, youth work, halaqas. They've all been done before. But what it is the consistency. It's being, you know what, I genuinely believe this is important for my community, and this is why I'm going to do it on a regular basis, because I think I can contribute. Yeah. And so honestly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, forgive him, bless him, and his family as well. He's a massive, like a lot of what I've said today came from a lot of conversations I've had with him. It's not, you know, a lot
of people say that.
Yeah. So so again, like inshallah.
But that comes from, I guess, like his life started, or his journey started into all the beyond that people talk about now was through the works of ISoc, and then he built his network through that. But BarakAllahu feek, I think we've discussed a lot. I think we've discussed everything we wanted to, really, from the likes of what ISoc is to the positives and the negatives. And I want to reiterate that, okay, what we've said ISoc isn't everything. It's not for everyone either. It is good to get involved, and it's good to enhance your university life into something better and meet like-minded people, and you can get involved in opportunities that you would never ever have before. And this wasn't a podcast to sort of chuck it down.
No, it wasn't to promote. It wasn't. Look,
no, and it's
as
not
long as you have your
promote.
own personal project.
Yeah.
Without ISoc, go for it.
That's what the point was. Yeah. Is that you can get involved. There's just things to do. Like, if people are lost of what to do, there's so much to do. And even if people aren't part of ISoc and they want to see campaigns that are put on, they want to see charity events that I want to put on, or they want to see whatever it is, even academic events through the ISocs that you want to see for Muslim students, just get involved. Message the ISocs. And whether you want to get involved or not is an entirely different matter, but at least you've got the ideas there and you've got the platforms there to use. So don't waste them, because I'm sure every student goes through something that they must say on a daily basis. Why is this not happening? I wish we could do this. I wish we could do that. Well, I think now is the opportunity where you can. But like I said, it's not to chuck ISoc down people's throats. It's more just to show the real, the more the challenges that we face and the stuff that's out there that ISocs are doing. And this is just me and you talking, but every ISoc does this across the board. There's from all the way from Scotland down to the to the far end of South, there's ISocs all over which are putting in the good work. So may Allah accept it from them and us as well. Before I wrap up the podcast, we didn't mention this, which I did want to, but we're collaborating on a charity event this year, aren't we? Which is for Human Appeal. So keep an eye out for that, because we're building a water pump in Pakistan.
Pumps, inshallah.
Pumps, inshallah. Inshallah, if we raise the right amount, which I'm sure we will, with everyone's help. So if you're listening, keep an eye out for the events. And if you want to find out any more information, just go to either of our websites, and there's a lot more information about the charity and the cause for that. And also follow us at MMU ISoc for the podcast, and also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts as well. It's the Muslim Interlude. And also for the socials for Manchester ISoc, it literally is just Manchester ISoc. So you can find them on YouTube for their events, and also Instagram for any updates on there as well. BarakAllahu feek for listening, and a big thank you to Aziz as well for joining us.
I'm sure saying the BarakAllahu feek for me, then there's a bit of you saying it to the audience.
Okay. Well, for taking your time out to share the words. And like I said, I'm glad it was a bit more of a discussion, because I'll give you a quick point. Aziz didn't actually want to come on this podcast, by the way. He kept saying it was self-gratifying. He didn't want to he wasn't. There's better people out there, which mashallah is a good trait, but I've made him, and alhamdulillah, I'm sure everyone benefited from our own experiences. So jazakallah khair, and inshallah we will definitely catch up soon.
وديني سلامي يا رايح للحرم، وادعي لي وسلم لي على هادي الأمم.